Hello, everyone. So we are here yet again with Mr. Pranav Gupta for this interview. So Pranav sir is the founder of Asia's first liberal arts university, which is Ashoka University that works on the model of collective philanthropy. He's also one of the founders of Plaksha University in Mohali, which aims to reimagine technology education in India on the same model of collective philanthropy. He also holds several reputable positions with the Haryana and Punjab government. So, welcome to the discussion, Pranav sir.
Thank you, Akshay. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Pleasure is all mine.
Likewise, sir, always a pleasure to speak with you on interesting topics. So, Pranav sir, in our last discussion, we talked about education abroad and how US has evolved as the number one destination for higher education. So, today we would like you to address a few more questions on higher education and its scope in India.
Sure, Akshay. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
So we'll begin with our first question, sir. So right now, India's GER, which is Gross Enrollment Ratio, it's 26.3% through, and the government through NEP aims at uplifting the GER to 50% by 2030. Do you think Indian student migration will have to be reduced to foreign universities or foreign countries in order to fulfill this goal by 2030 or 2035?
So, Akshay, that's a very great question. And obviously, the NEP has thrown a very big challenge in front of us. And I think it's a very progressive number as a challenge thrown out to the higher education sector. And it's primarily done because India is evolving from a developing country into a developed nation. We are a $3 trillion economy, aiming to be 5 trillion, and aiming to be actually in the next 25 years about a $30 trillion economy. And if you want to be a developed economy, your education system has to be in top gear. You have to have world-class universities. You have to have a large population of your country being educated. Otherwise, your dream of being a developed economy doesn't exist or has a huge challenge.
Correct.
So for India's gross enrollment ratio to go up, in fact, it's going to be the opposite. In fact, there's going to be many factors which are going to contribute in terms of making this ratio higher. Just to give you a stack of numbers where we are, approximately 23 crore students right now are in the K-12 space. So we've got a population of about 130 crores. 23 crore students are there between 0 and 12, right? And this is amongst 14 lakh schools in India. And this is probably within this age group of 4 to 18. This is the youngest pool of children in the world. So we're sitting at a population of 23 crore children in this age group, largest in the world. And of course, these students need to be educated further after they graduate from class 12. There are a lot of other factors, there are a lot of dropouts also happening in between. There are a lot of students who don't cross class 12, who don't cross class 12. But the challenge right now in front of us is that whoever passes out from class 12, right now 1 out of 4 goes to college or university. So how do you double that?
True.
And it's primarily going to happen in terms of really expanding capacity, ramping up huge capacity in higher education, probably at all levels, probably at the government level, the private sector level. In my sense, students will continue going abroad, and foreign universities and students going abroad will be a factor in terms of ramping up this capacity. In fact, Mr. Amitabh Kant just tweeted a few days back, approximately about 6 lakh students right now go outside India for higher education, and I think Niti Aayog has done some work, and this number probably in the next 5 to 10 years is going to probably look at 18 to 20 lakhs. So there's so foreign universities are going to play a very important role. Private universities are going to play a very important role. The government is going to play an important role if we need to see the gross enrollment ratio going up.
Okay. So every year you're saying 6 lakh students, they migrate abroad, and it has to be like 15 to 20 lakhs further, maybe the next year. This is how it's
in the next couple of. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So yes, like you said,
And but the biggest, so 15-20 lakhs is also a very small number in terms of the number of students who need to be educated after class 12. So the heavy lifting is going to be done both by the government and the private sectors in India. We're probably looking at more universities, massive ramping up of the university capacity system within India, which can be done by the government also and by the private sector also. But in the last 10 years, if you look at the last 10 to 15 years, majority of the capacity addition in terms of the higher education has been done by the private sector. We all know that we've had tons and tons of private, good quality, medium quality, all kinds of institutions come in India, and the private sector has played a phenomenal and a stupendous role in terms of adding capacity. On the other hand, the government has shied in terms of putting more capacity, and you and I all know that the top institutions in India remain the same. There's not been too much capacity addition from the government side.
okay. So firstly, we'll have to tackle, the challenge of having less universities or less number of colleges, because if India has more universities and colleges, definitely the GER has to go up.
Correct. And the other big challenge besides ramping up capacity is how to make education more affordable. So that's a huge challenge.
Correct.
And private university education is more costlier and is not really subsidized by the government. So a private sector player which comes in wants a return on capital. Obviously, they're more efficient on return on capital versus the government. And they also demand led in the sense that focus a lot on quality, but cost remains a huge factor. And if we want to educate our population and we want more students to go, then we have to really see how we educate the poor, because the poor need funds, right? The poor have a need to be funded in terms of scholarships, etc.
Right.
So one is ramping up of capacity, and second is we'll have to be more inclusive. We'll have to target all sections of society, all socio-economic background students to come in, and they need financial help. And that financial help can come either the government higher education institutions are already subsidized, but I think the way it could really work is if some kind of a model is evolved in which the government can come in and support students going to private universities, so that when the private sector puts in capital, enhances, the government can evolve a model of some kind in terms of supporting the needy students. So these two will have to go really hand in hand if we need to see the GR going up.
True. So actually, the government has also started playing they've started to count on it that the GR has to increase, and they've recently also given a green signal to the dual degree programs in India, Indian higher education universities. So how is it going to impact the GER having dual degree programs in Indian higher education space?
That's a great question, Akshay. Once more, it's very interrelated to GR. So, dual degree is a very progressive thing which NEP aims for, envisages for. And this concept actually has been prevalent in the United States for a long time. And it's just that the terminology has been different. In the US, the dual degree has been called a double major, in the sense that at the undergraduate level, if you want to study economics or technology or history and want to club everything together, that's possible. So I could probably do engineering. I have interest in engineering, and tomorrow I also say that I have interest in history. I can do both. Or I can do media studies like yourself, along with technology. So you can club, mix and match. And the whole emphasis from the US perspective has been to pursue your passion. Because in class 12, very few students really know what they want to do. And as they start doing college or university, they start evolving, right? And they really start understanding, oh, this is what I like and this is something which I don't like. Right. And this has been the backbone of the system, to pursue passion, to achieve excellence in whatever you like. And that's how you have students coming out of the university system really passionate about what they want to do and then excel and then become leaders in research, industry, or politics or business. So the dual degree system is kind of very similar, that it allows you to pursue, various subjects, what you would like to do, your interests are. Earlier, it was not possible. You get a rank, and based on your rank, you would probably get a discipline you will study. And I know a lot of students who end up doing what they don't like to, and then they like to change their field. So this gives a lot of flexibility. It's very, very important. And it's a very, very positive step. So, and the way it's going to help the GER is now students will say, hey, I can study what I want to do. I can pursue my dream. I can pursue my passion. And in my understanding, a broader degree at an undergraduate level, pursuing a couple of things is more helpful today from a job market perspective than what it was about 20 years back. So it's helping the GER moving up in a lot of ways.
Right. So also, sir, recently I read in the news that UGC has also approved the foreign universities to set up their campuses in India. I think that is also going to greatly contribute towards the GER going up.
Absolutely, Akshay. It's a very welcoming step, and again a very positive step. Like positive developments happened in the NMP. So as I mentioned earlier, just to answer your first question, that we need a lot of ramping up of university space, higher education space in terms of infra in India. If we have to have 2 out of 4 students going into higher education. So, and for doing that, you need a lot of capital, right? So a lot of capital is required, a lot of infrastructure is required. And so, the foreign universities were always allowed to be in India, but they were not given the flexibility by the UGC. So this act, which is now going to go to Parliament, gives that flexibility on admission process, on the fee structure, on faculty hiring, and basically the whole administration of university. So it's very, very flexible, and that is going to make the foreign universities come to India saying that, hey, this is a destination where we can offer world-class education, we have flexibility, and that will help in the ramping up of the capacity in the private sector space.
Right.
Also, foreign universities, as I mentioned earlier, Akshay, are built, majority of them are built on philanthropic capital. So if they come, what UGC is offered, so I'm sure that they'll also be very liberal on scholarships. They'll be funded, they're funded by philanthropy, etc. And so we are going to achieve 2 things. We're going to have foreign capital come in to help the expansion of the private sector. And secondly, the point which I mentioned earlier about scholarships and funding of the inclusive, just to make the universities inclusive, that is also going to be solved to a large extent. So really, really welcoming step.
Right. So can we say that the top Ivy League universities like Harvard and Yale, would they also be initially interested, or would they wait for a certain longer time to set up their campus in India? Or would they just, make a partnership or tie up with an existing Indian university, and that's how they can offer their courses? That is
so, Akshay, very, very brilliant question. This is a question which is doing rounds on social media right now, whether Harvard would come, Yale would come. Mm-hmm. So my sense is that typically till now, the top Ivy League universities have really shied going out of their own whole domain. Pretty much the US, they've had few partnerships outside, very few of them. And some have done very well and some of them have not done too well. So I think the top schools, at the same time, universities are also under a lot of economic pressure. The top Ivy League universities need more funding for research and they need more students, etc. So I think the top universities, in my sense, are going to wait for a while till the legislation settles down. They'll probably like to see action on the ground. They like to see the proof of the pudding, seeing that whether everything is going smooth, whether the government has really toed the line in terms of what the intent was. And so that might be a few years down the road. But at the same time, if you look at the US education system or some of the other education systems, they're very expensive. And even their top 50 universities, their top 100 universities some of them figure in the top 200 list. So, and just to tell you that India's only 3 universities, Indian Institute of Science Bangalore, IIT Bombay, and IIT Delhi, figure in the list between 100 and 200. So even if we get slightly lesser ranked universities coming into India, this will be a huge boost to the higher education sector.
Absolutely.
In my mind.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct, sir. Okay. So I think we've had a great discussion around GER and how the government plans to increase it by 2030 or 2035. And you've answered all our questions brilliantly, sir. It's always great, getting enlightened from your answers. So I think our audience would also love hearing what you have said today.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you so much for having me over today.
All right, sir. Looking forward to more discussions with you.
Sure. Looking forward to. Thank you.